So good day everybody. Let's keep it about. My name is Gian Paolo Bassi. I work for SOLIDWORKS since many years, and I am in charge of the go-to-market of the mainstream SOLIDWORKS portfolio, and I will explain to you what it is today. Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you, MECAD, and it is my first time in South Africa. I'm here today with you to talk about SOLIDWORKS, to join you in the love of this brand, and to celebrate a very, very important milestone, 30th year anniversary. We did a lot of things in these 30 years, but we are still about the same thing, which is redefining how we design, collaborate, and create. So we started many years ago with a dream, a very simple dream, to put advanced modeling technology in the hands of every engineer in the world, because we didn't want any technology or tool to be in the way of the creativity of the engineers. You know, at SOLIDWORKS we are all mechanical engineers, we are all engineers, we understand the beauty of creativity, and that is what is driving our passion. And I would say that in these 30 years we have accomplished something. I mean, these are dry numbers. I can tell you what is behind these numbers, and they are very telling. So let's start with our market share. The CAD units market share, 44%. I think this is important because it shows that you are in good company. So many engineers in the world trust SOLIDWORKS and the technologies that we bring to you to realize their ideas. Of course, the business side is important as well. We crossed the 1.1 billion euro revenue threshold last year. We want to grow even more faster, of course. This is important because it's fueling the research engine, it's fueling the innovation engine. I will talk a lot about innovation today because, of course, it's our obsession. In addition to the business numbers that are very important, don't get me wrong, those are on the right are the most important numbers. Our community, we have 8 million users every day, including students, makers, including startups, because this is our community. We have sold 1.5 million commercial seats, so we not counting students and so on, but of those 1.5 millions, we don't even know how many users, because many of those licenses are shared licenses, so they can be used by many people, not concurrently. Of course, many companies, many accounts, and an ecosystem of partners. I want to stress the importance of partners like MECAD, because it's taking our story, our passion, and our innovation very, very close to you, because they are on the territory. They understand you. And through them, we understand you very well as well, which is central to our strategy. Listening to our customers and reading their mind, anticipating their needs. We are in every industry. Probably here there is a vast representation of the industries, from industrial equipment and medical devices. I will have some examples. And many industries we can even increase our footprint, because there is a good dynamics, because at the end the story of SOLIDWORKS is very relevant for any type of industry we are playing with. Now let me tell you the context we are operating with. Of course we are part of the Dassault system, as you all know, and you may have noticed that at the beginning of the year, the Dassault system, the executives like Pascal Dalloz, Bernard Charles was there as well, decided to announce to the world an important shift in the vision, in the positioning of the Dassault system, and an important upgrade to the strategy. They decided to announce it at the 3D Experience World. The Dassault system is about helping you build your IP. We used to say, we help you build very accurate designs, we help you do very precise simulation, this and that, and we can go on and on and on with our entire portfolio. But if you want to summarize the essence of what is our mission, what is our passion, is to help our customers build IP. And we have realized in 30 years of history that IP is not only an accurate CAD design and associated drawings, but it's everything that goes around the business decisions to realize that particular design, that particular product and assembly. IP includes business model, includes the architecture of the supply chain, includes choice of material, market research, people, growth plans. All of that is intellectual property. And all of that is critical to be precisely documented and connected to make sure that from the business decision all the way down, every detail in the technical planning are perfectly consistent and optimized. It's a different way to say more or less the same thing, but I want you to know that what we are doing today is extending way beyond the traditional bread and butter of SOLIDWORKS, which is 3D design. And I will talk a lot about this. This is one big statement in the new positioning, I would say in the extended positioning of what we do at SOLIDWORKS and Dassault Systèmes. The other one is probably more important, because we have told the world that not only we want to help you build your IP, but we also want to preserve and protect it forever in our storage space, in our vertically integrated data centers. Dassault Systèmes is the only company in the world that has a complete vertical integration and can satisfy sovereignty requirements. You know exactly where your data is. But the big keyword here is protecting your IP. Cybersecurity is a big topic. And right now is included in the value proposition of the Dassault Systèmes. Now, if you check the cost of a ransomware event or what it takes to protect yourselves from those events, do it in-house, hardware, software, people, expertise. It's a daily job that is exhausting, I can tell you. We have thousands of people doing that every day to protect your IP. So I think this is probably the most important statement I want to convey to you today. We are here to help build your IP, everything included, and very importantly, help protect it for the next foreseeable future. And in the Dassault Systèmes, we have 12 brands. SOLIDWORKS is one of them. We work in 12 industries, but we all have the same purpose, which is to converge our technology on a single platform. Why this? Because platform thinking right now is very fashionable, right? Every company has realized that a single platform where you can preserve all your IP in a digital continuous thread is the premise for efficiency, is the premise to apply artificial intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence needs a digital asset to work on. Well, we go one step beyond that. We say that we don't not only help you create the digital asset, but we want to help you create virtual assets. And I have an example of what this virtual asset is and what is the difference between a digital asset. But you probably can imagine, like a picture is a beautiful digital asset, but what kind of insight you can get from a picture? You cannot read behind, you cannot do any simulation of a beautiful picture. So this is the fundamental difference between digital twin and virtual twin. I will explain. But the premise to realize an enhanced IP and protect it is to have a common language. Like today, we can communicate because we speak a common language. I'm sorry I have to speak English. I wish I could speak Afrikaner. Probably I will learn it in the future. We all understand each other because we speak a common human language. Now, in engineering, there is a technical language, the language of parametrization, of 3D modeling, the language of simulation, of manufacturing. This is a language that needs to be understood among all the constituency of these brands into the platform. And I can tell you that we started working on this in 2012 when we announced the 3D Experience platform. So having this common language is what makes Dassault Systèmes and SOLIDWORKS uniquely different. Why? Because this is how AI works. AI understands languages, and you can play today, every day, with large language models. You can ask a AI companion questions in your natural language, and the companions reply in natural language. You can even extend to talk the language of pictures, right? You can create images, those type of things. But the magic will be to connect these large language models with large industry models for AI. And to do that, you need to have a common language, which we do after 15 years of work in the platform, and an industry know-how that extends even beyond the life of SOLIDWORKS, because Dassault Systèmes has celebrated 40 years in business a few years back. So this industry knowledge and this common industrial language makes the combination of AI, natural language, natural human language, and industrial language a perfect combination to do what? To help you create your IP even more efficiently. This is the positioning of SOLIDWORKS. I think it's important for you to understand that value today is not created by single point solution, as good as they are, but is created by connecting people, making every asset of your IP available instantly to everybody that you wish to be part of your value chain, instantly and safely. This is how we believe value is created. Because this is the true realization of the digital continuity that was one of the objectives of Industry 4.0, right? That now is becoming Industry 5.0. So this is why it's so important to make it very clear that SOLIDWORKS right now is expanding to this larger ecosystem that includes end-to-end product development, from design, manufacturing, data management, even simulation, of course, and even sales and marketing. I'm doing a world tour right now to celebrate this anniversary. I was with a large, probably actually the largest furniture manufacturer in the world. They design everything with SOLIDWORKS, and they do their catalogs, their online buying experience is completely based on SOLIDWORKS assets. They do it all digitally because we give them the tools to do sales and marketing as well, because the 3D models are fully integrated in a hyper-realistic rendering technology that doesn't need any translation, any neutral file, because it speaks the same language. I was mentioning virtual twin. What is it? Here is the virtual twin. I think this is the best visual representation. You see on your left the virtual, it is virtual, and on the right the real. That's why the strategy that Dassault Systèmes talked about is 3D universes, okay? And in the middle there is, we removed the E with the connection from the V and the R, which is the connection between virtual and real, which is what we show here. Why is it important? Some of your end users, some of your clients want to see the effect of automation that you are selling them. They want to see what is the ROI of the plant that they are about to buy from you. And they want to understand how to best organize, for instance, the flow of material, where to position the warehouse, where to put a conveyor. And all of this can be designed in a virtual way so that your end user, if you are in the business of automation, of industrial automation, knows exactly what it will get in a virtual commissioning environment. This is the example of a virtual twin. And we are so convinced of the value and the importance of this virtualization of digital assets, which means give life to digital assets, that we virtualize everything, including the human heart. Isn't it as close as possible to the real thing? And this is not just a generic heart, this is a heart of a specific patient. Why? Because we wanted to organize the surgery, we want to design the optimal aortic valve, we want to design the stent. By the way, the first stent in the world was designed many, many years ago with SOLIDWORKS. And at the time, the designer wished to have a virtual twin of the human heart to speed up the perfection of this important tool that is saving life. So, as you can see, for us, virtualization is a very much all-rounded type of passion and objectives. This is Boston Dynamics autonomous robot. It was, you may have seen it because it was with me on stage at World this year. It's an amazing machine. But can you imagine the multiple disciplines that are necessary to make it work? You know, you have mechanics, of course, electrical, you have electronics, plenty of software, remote connection to the cloud, because you cannot have all the computational power on board for several reasons, and then you may need to coordinate a fleet of these inspection robots. So all of this needs to be virtualized in a fully consistent environment, including the visual aspect, the computer vision, the perception, the understanding of the context. And that is the meaning of the universe. When the Dassault Systèmes said at the beginning of the year, we are here to help you build 3D universes, because everything that you do lives in a context. The robot lives in a plant, This walking dog Spot lives in a plant to do inspection, for instance, or lives in an archaeological site to do exploration in a safer way than doing it with humans. So that's why we talk about universe, and it is not new. If you look at what NVIDIA wants to do, they want to do a metaverse. So this concept of universe, of context, of virtual context is important. For us, anchoring it with the reality is even more important. Because the companies that I've mentioned are very much vested into creating a virtual world, but then it ends there for entertainment or for visualization. That is very good, but for us that is not enough. For us the virtual world needs to realize in something like Spot, in something like an aortic valve, or in something like a very efficient production plant. How do we realize this vision? Well, with a strategy. And our strategy rests on, we believe, are the powers of what we do. We wanted to have the power of the brand, the power of innovation. We want to bring to you these powers, these not so secret magic powers, and the power of the ecosystem. They are all very much important for us to move forward. And as much as it is important to celebrate 30 years, the most important thing is to look at the next 30 years. And I can tell you that we have a dynamics, we have a momentum, we have a passion, we have the people, we have the customers to ensure you that the next 30 years are going to be even brighter and more interesting. At the end, SOLIDWORKS is a young adult, right? So it's now time to become a full professional and move to the next phase of life. And the next phase of life is what we want to associate to the brand of SOLIDWORKS. Why I'm saying that there is a power in the brand? Because we want the brand to convey a story, and we want the brand to inspire millions. The brand is not simply an icon, a color, a beautiful poster. That is the symbol. The most important thing is to associate a story. And I offer you a story today, the story of the future of SOLIDWORKS. That is not only me, of course. I am just the ambassador. I am in a way the evangelist of a huge ecosystem. The story that I'm telling you is what I absorb everywhere I go. And I distill, I work with the team to put together the story and associate with the brand of SOLIDWORKS. Because when we say SOLIDWORKS, you immediately understand what we have been and what we want to be. And most importantly, how do we inspire the young people? How do we inspire the workforce of the future? How do we inspire this most important constituency of ours? So inspiration is, I believe, what kids need. Okay? Especially in a continent as young, dynamic, and diverse as Africa. They need to be inspired to understand they can do everything that they want. And you just visit an event like this, you see entrepreneurs building amazing things because they have the inspiration, they have the willpower. That's the only thing that is necessary. Everything else will come. The means, the tools, the software. We have plenty of software to help these kids realize their dreams. As a matter of fact, we do a lot of things for the young. And I wanted to tell you, of course, this is the consequence of the brand, right? Creating a large and passionate community. But I want to tell you 3 things that we do for the workforce of the future. Let it be known. Communicate these ideas to the people you interact with, especially the young people. One is, for instance, a program that we launched this year. It's called Skill Force. I think it's relevant for you as well, because I know that many entrepreneurs take into the factory, into the shop floor, young kids in order to train them, in order to get in touch with them, in order to let them understand what is life in manufacturing. This is very important. In some parts of the world, they call it internship. In some other, they call it mentorship. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the story is the importance of the young to get in touch with the entrepreneurs and places where things happen, to understand the magic of making things. And we have decided that every kids that want to have an internship experience has to come with all the software they need to be successful. So let it be known that if you want to have kids in your shop floor, or in your lab, or in your R&D department for a semester, for a summer, or for a few years, this kid can be equipped with all the software they need out of the SOLIDWORKS mainstream portfolio, all the portfolio that they need to make you and the kid successful. So let it be known. It's called the Skill Force program. And of course, MECAD knows all the details to make it happen. The other one, of course, is the entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs and startups are the lifeblood of the SOLIDWORKS ecosystem because of our belief that science and technology can change the trajectory of societies. So we truly have this belief. Okay? Yeah, we are in business. I mean, we do it because we believe that helping startups and giving them all they need to be successful at zero cost is good business, because they will stay with us when they will become successful enterprises. And many of them do. Today we have 5,000 startups in our ecosystem, and the promotion rate, meaning when they become viable and financially successful so that they can start paying for the software that we give them, is about 30% after the first year. So it's pretty amazing. Why? Because as usual, we don't just give out software for free, or even in education, right? We want to give all the tools that are necessary for them to be successful. And we have experience. You have experienced executives that can mentor them. We have contacts with incubators. We have contacts even with investors. So again, this is the power of the ecosystem. It's the last leg that will be the end of my conversation. But it is extremely, extremely important to make sure that our story is understood and is perpetuated by continuous involvement of us as SOLIDWORKS and these new enterprises that come into existence, that are so important to change the trajectory of societies. I've seen this over and over and over again. The other one is, an example of startup. I like this because, okay, this is the last one I visited. Probably the next story will be about the coffee machine. I just admire out here. It's another startup, beautiful. But I had a slide for this endoscopic pill. Can you imagine how this invention will change the life of people? Instead of going to the hospital being sedated to have an endoscopy, very invasive operation, you just ingest a pill. The pill can be remotely controlled, and you can even do it at home. This will lower the cost of endoscopy, it will lower dramatically the cost of preventative medicine, and will make the life of millions much, much better. Just like medical devices do, just like a aortic valve or a diabetic implanted pump or a stent, and all the equipment that is necessary to make it happen. The other things that we do, I think this is very important, and I want them to pop up all over in Africa, because these are very important beacons of our story. Are centers of excellence. What are they? They are places with the tools and people that can tell the beauty of the manufacturing story, can explain to everybody that is even unknowledgeable, that doesn't even train, what it takes to make almost everything. As a matter of fact, it started with our partners with the MIT. They have the Center for Bits and Atoms, led by Dr. Neil Gershenfeld, is here in one picture. We were in Rwanda, by the way. We did the first Fab Lab with them in Central Africa. It was in Rwanda. And this professor had a class, the title was How to Make Almost Anything. So when we saw that, we said, hey, professor, we really want to inspire everybody to be able to make almost everything. How do we partner? And then the partnership started. And then from that, other partnerships started. We have Center of Excellence all over the place. 2 weeks ago, I was in Lithuania. They just did one, and they just did another one. So I cut the ribbon for the second time of a Center of Excellence. Center of Excellence, again, are places where you can find people, machine, and software that can tell you how to build almost everything. And I see that this can change the trajectory of society, can create a microcosmos of entrepreneurship and inspiration, again, that are so important for the subsistence and for the future of this community. Like in Rwanda, there are many startups for small things, the things that they need locally. We did one in Bhutan, we did one in Patagonia, in places where they don't have these machines, they don't have lathe, they don't have 3D printers, they don't have CAD, they don't have computers. We bring all those things there. Because, as I said at the beginning, inspiration is the most important thing. When you inspire people, amazing things happen. Amazing inventions happen, like the pill, Let's move to the second leg of our strategy, the most important one, the power of innovation. And I want you to know that SOLIDWORKS is in a very good place. SOLIDWORKS is part of a company that prides itself of being a science and technology company, not a software development company. A place where science is developed. We work with Nobel Prizes. And of course, technology is at the basis of every innovation in our way of thinking. And this is the type of portfolio, of lineup, of war chest, as you may want to call it, of multi-scale, multi-domain technologies that are available to you. So you can simulate everything from structural all the way into linear and non-linear, in computational fluid dynamics, the electromagnetic field. What is the object that today is not connected? What is the object that doesn't have an antenna? To decide the optimal placement and design for the antenna, you need simulation to make it right for the first time, okay? All the way into molecular design, into simulating the sintering phenomenon when you do 3D printing of metal. What are the residual thermal tensions? What are the chances for your very costly and long 3D printing, metal 3D printing job is? The chances for it to be successful and not to crack because of residual thermal tensions. We have the software to predict that. We have even the software to design the next alloy, down to the chemical reaction level. We have it all and we own it. So it is there forever. It's not subject to the vagaries of the marketplace. Because if you probably know, for instance, in simulation today, there is no independent company left. They've been absorbed, they've been sold. This is the natural dynamics of the market, nothing wrong with that. But those things change trajectories, change vision, change strategy, priorities, pricing. Those things happen. We are not subject to those vagaries. We have it all in our war chest as part of the System and Science and Technology company. So what is our job in SOLIDWORKS? Is to take all of this, coordinate all of this, and put it into a portfolio that is very easy to do business with. So all of this CFD, EMAG, non-linear, whatever, all these are packaged with a very clear pricing, very stable pricing. I understand there are currency problems in Africa, but by the way, we have daily talks in order to fix those things, because we don't want price to be in the way of innovation and success of our customers. So I don't want to hear this ever. If there is, I know there are teams that are ready to work that out. Price cannot be the problem. Price is a mean, okay? Is a way for us to be able to bring excellence to you, and you understand this very well because you are in business too. But it's not. It's just a mean. It's not the end, okay? So we have this portfolio, and we call it the expanding SOLIDWORKS mainstream portfolio, because it's not only about CAD, it's about simulation, and all the multi-scale, multi-domain simulations are all captured in this modular type of portfolio. You can buy, you can plug and play these modules anytime you want, because they are very scalable, okay? And very sustainable, by the way. You can use them for as long as you want and when you want, because our pricing model is very flexible. You can buy perpetual licenses, you can rent by the quarter, you can rent by the year, or you can rent multiple years. So we are one of the few left company, I would say the last remaining company that has this flexibility. And we do not intend to change it anytime in the future. Speaking of our expanding portfolio is what makes it possible for innovators, yet there is another one. Again, the last one I visited before leaving Boston on August 31st. These guys have invented a new propulsion system for vertical takeoff. Because in Boston they want to build flying cars. Yes. And they are about to doing that. Because they have invented an electrical engine that doesn't use rolling bearings. They use magnetic levitation. So they reduce vibration, noise, they extend durability, and reduce drastically the energy requirement, which is indispensable for these things to fly for a longer time. And this would not be possible without the war chest of technologies that I mentioned before. Because you can imagine the amount of electronics, the amount of magnetic field, and the turbulence that the propeller undergoes if there is a vibration, and what are the consequences of eliminating this vibration. This is happening. This is happening, and I think it's truly beautiful. We said that we want to help any type of IP. This is IP as well. Yes, we don't believe that this is a different type of IP. This is all part of IP, schematics, drawings, 2D. Yes, those things are everywhere. And we have technology, it's called DraftSight, it's an amazing product that speaks the standard language of 2D drawings today. And it is part of our portfolio, so it is fully integrated. And I can tell you it is very powerful, and it has a very, very, very powerful value proposition. So please give a look at it when you have a chance. But now let me go on the section, I would say, the best guest of my conversation today, because I understand that there is a lot of expectation on AI. And AI is now unleashing wild imagination, and it's true. And there is some hype out there. There are some not so precise information and so on. But I want to tell you that AI has been in our radar screen way, way before it became a talk of popular science, okay? We started many years ago with a very simple proposition. I remember that because at the time I was in charge of R&D. I did several things for SOLIDWORKS. I was even in charge of R&D for a long period. And then the talks was, okay, of course we need to fix the bugs. Of course the crash has to go to zero. But there are other things. Of course we want, again, to eliminate any friction. Because our dreams, the dream of the SOLIDWORKS guys are for our tools to be transparent. We want you to go directly to the point without searching, scrambling, figuring out how to use the damn tool. We don't want that. I would say that we have a reputation for that. So we looked at all the workflows, and my observation was, so I have two kind of pet projects. One is to eliminate drawings. The other one is to make assemblies like a breeze, something to have fun with, like playing with Lego. And today, admittedly, the concept of mates and in the context of assembly is something that is very laborious. So you have to, explain exactly what face mates with what face, what kind of mate is planar, coplanar, whatever, aligned. There is some sort of space for movement and those type of things. All those things are very, very important. Every engineers understand that. But it takes a lot of time. To place a bolt or a washer, of course the bolt goes on top of a washer. Everybody understands that, even a 5-year-old kid. But you have to click at least 4 times for the washer and 4 times for the bolt in order to align all these things. How is that possible? Multiply that for all the bolts that you have. Okay, you can create patterns, whatever, but multiply that and you understand how much time is wasted in non-value creating activities. We have some of them. Broken links, missing mates. So our obsession has been, let's eliminate all what the Japanese call muda, all the waste. That's the waste of time. And that is where artificial intelligence is giving us a big boost in our desire. And the Dassault Systèmes is very serious investing in AI. And you probably have seen in the news, this is one of the best endorsements of the AI strategy of Dassault Systèmes. Volkswagen, no less than Volkswagen, has pledged $1 billion investment in AI, and all the industrial part of it, the strategy of AI in industrial application at Volkswagen Group is done with Dassault Systèmes. So this is a very big endorsement of our vision and our technology that is available today. Why do we do these things? I explained some examples that we like to solve. We really like to delight the end user. We like to remove the clicks and the little frictions that go there. But at the end, these are the problems that all entrepreneurs are talking to me right now. The problem is not anymore an accurate design. The accurate design is possible today. You do very accurate and precise design. We can argue about, okay, super large assemblies, but I have customers that do 100,000 parts assemblies. So that is not the bottleneck. Of course, there is room for improvement. I've seen that. I took notice. I have pictures of that. And we will never stop improving our CAD tool. But if you talk to an entrepreneur, these are the real problems. And I believe, especially the last one, I think is about knowledge loss and workforce shortage. So AI is an incredible tool to bring forward knowledge, to basically summarize, synthesize the knowledge of what? Of millions of documents out there, millions of design out there, and convey it in useful training, in useful summaries, in useful best practices indication for the workforce of the future. That is one problem. Scarcity of our workforce and the urgency to train the workforce of the future, especially in Africa. I heard this over and over again. There is plenty of talented young kids. They just need the tools to learn what is necessary for them to be successful. AI can help tremendously. But the other one is documents, data, specification, source and generation. I was in Germany not long ago, actually, because I'm doing a world tour with a company, a company that does cognitive robotics. It's called Neura, okay? And they do robots for many industries, also for the hospital industry, for healthcare. And I asked them, so what is the biggest challenge to put a robot in a hospital? And I was expecting, I don't know, the design of these things, the safety, whatever. And they told me, listen, from a technical point of view, a robot that moves around on a structured space, on a known space, because you know the work, you know the layout of an hospital in advance, is not such a difficult problem. The problem is to abide to all the regulations for a machine to work in a hospital. Every hospital is different. And they're telling me that they're working out with a manual of regulations, internal regulations, 660 pages, that they need the robot to abide by, concerning the number of sensors, the number of emergency switches, maximum speed, minimum speed, size of the display, what shows on the display, all those type of things, the communication, range, and working hours, how long the battery lasts, what type of batteries, what material, blah, blah, blah. So 650 plus pages. And they told me that this is the biggest challenge. And they said, so how do you do that? Well, we put people reading all those pages, going into the design, checking out every single feature to make sure that all the sensors are there in the place they were supposed to be, with the reach that is prescribed, and so on. So this coordination of documents, data, specifications is today the most laborious part in any industry, and especially in highly regulated industries. I know that all the kids that go work in aerospace or automotive, the first job they are put at is make sure that the specifications are in line with the design, and most importantly, the QA plans are in line with the specification and are compliant to the industry standards. It's a very difficult job, very tedious, and it doesn't add any value. Well, actually, it adds a lot of value, because the final object has to be compliant to all this paperwork. But it's very tedious, and at the end can be automated. That's what we believe AI can do the best. And I have examples. So to be very practical, because we are SOLIDWORKS, I'm happy to celebrate the 30th anniversary by telling you that today, as I speak, SOLIDWORKS has 14 different AI assistants that can help you from assistive, predictive, generative, any type of tasks. And I want to give you some examples. I cannot go through the 14 of them. Maybe in the rest of the breakout sessions somebody will. But very practically speaking, AI right now is very hyped, very generic, and nobody has figured out what can do exactly for your business. Well, I'm here to tell you what exactly our AI will do for your business. So let's talk about assistive. I mentioned this before. Assistive is about assisting a designer to eliminate friction in daily workflows. For instance, a broken link in a sketch. We raise a red flag, SOLIDWORKS is good at that, but what about repairing it? Okay, so now we have a tool to do that. It's an AI assistant. You change a component of an assembly. Guess what? You had mates, you had relationship, now you have broken mates. So how do you fix that? We raise a red flag. You all are all familiar broken mates, right? So now we help fix that. Another typical example that does not add any value, actually removes value, is the defeaturization, which means simplifying an object in order to work more safely with more IP protection with the suppliers. I wanted to work with you, to collaborate with you, their supplier, but you don't need to know everything, every detail of my design. You basically need to know only the things that you need to know to do the job for me. And to do that, how people do that? Basically, they remove features one by one. This is not adding value, is removing value, if you will. Now, we tried to help with the geometrical reasoning. We will never be very successful. Now, AI can help tremendously alleviate the time that is necessary to the feature. And this is one of the AI assistant. I would like to give you just an example, and it goes back to one of my pet projects, which is improving the positioning of assembly components, fasteners. Fasteners are, of course, in mechanical design is the most common object that needs to be placed. Let me give you an example now, what we do today. Today you want to put a washer. I said you have to click at least 4 times, maybe more. I didn't do the math. But today, you just take the washer near the placement, which is a hole, and all those mates are created automatically. These are SOLIDWORKS objects, so that you can build assembly instructions, you can do kinematic, you can do simulation, durability, friction, and so on. Same story for a bolt. The bolt, of course, needs to be flush on the top face of the washer. That snaps in place. Just you bring it around the place, and AI, which is trained on this type of mates, particularly for fasteners, we have started with fasteners. We want to do with everything. Because the beauty of machine learning is exactly its definition. It can learn. So if you have components that are placed in a similar way, and everybody has, the machine can learn how to do it, and instead of clicking 1,000,000 times, you just move the component in the proximity of its placement, and it snaps in place with all the mates perfectly defined, so that any simulation is fully valid. Let's talk about predictive. Again, predictive is the best use of machine learning. Predictive is about understanding the patterns. That is what is about the word predictive. Because everybody works in patterns. They like to use a tool, then the next tool, and then do operation in a certain sequence. Now, we started long ago to facilitate the discovery of the tools based on context. Of course, if you do a sketch, there are only a few things that you can do in the context of a sketch, and then we present all those tools. But this is augmented by AI that can not only understand the context, the contextual situation, but can only understand what is the sequence of operations that you, as individual users, do next. And I want to bring you the example of a predictive common predictor, okay? So we have, of course, hundreds, if not thousands, of buttons, of commands, of procedures to do things in SOLIDWORKS. And the experts know them by heart, and they can customize the user interface. But we keep adding functionalities, okay? And the novice users, need to learn. So we have designed this assistant to help into the discovery of the best tools in the context for the mission that they want to achieve, basically the sequence of operations, and then they also learn what are your sequences, but also they recommend what are the best sequences. By doing what? A very simple thing. There is a tab there is a button saying, okay, common predictor, and there is a little area where all those tools are listed. The buttons are there. Only the tools that are important in that context, and only the tools that you usually use for the next sequence. And by the way, also the tools that we recommend you to use to optimize, for instance, a cutout. An example, if you put a sketch on a face, if it is a thin face, if it is a sheet metal, for instance, you are not going to do an extrusion. You are going to do a cutout, because you don't add material to a sheet metal. You can weld it, but that is a different component. So this type of industry knowledge, together with the magic of AI machine learning, can tremendously speed up and help any type of user. Even the seasoned users that may not know all the skills, all the tricks that can be used to improve their efficiency. But the need of a live instruction to tell you how to optimize a workflow is going to be diminished thanks to these AI assistants. Generative is probably the king or the queen of AI because it gives you impression to create something from scratch. Well, it is not from scratch because, again, the prevailing technology of AI today is deep learning, is neural networks. It needs to have a model of the domain it is helping with. Like language, the model is the millions of books, of written documents that are everywhere in the internet. That is the magic of ChatGPT, also the weakness, because it is as good as whatever they find on the internet. Okay? Now, I said that what Dassault wants to do is to connect the magic of natural language with the magic of industrial language. And I want to give you a very simple example, and it is my second pet project, which is automation of the creation of drawings. It is as simple as this. You ask, because this is happening all in the platform, in the cloud. You need GPUs to do these things. But a 3 components assembly, you click on a button, you probably miss the click of the button because a fraction of a second, but after some time, the drawings show up in the database. And the beauty is that these are drawings made with a standard SOLIDWORKS object. In fact, you can rearrange the balloons, for instance, because you have your favorite layout in mind. You can rearrange the position of the bill of material and so on. And by doing so, you teach the machine what is your favorite way of doing drawings, because there is some component of artistry in drawings, and all engineers take pride in these work pieces. But right now, as I speak, there is this assistant that is able to help you automate a large portion of what it takes to create the drawings. And you can do the math. Let's say right now on an object like this is 80%. If it is organic shape, is less. For prismatic objects, the job can be done more than 50%. Now you do your math, take away 50% of time to create this type of documentation, and I think you can see what is the ROI of what we're trying to do. And by the way, this is included in SOLIDWORKS today, as we speak. It's not a new product that you have to buy. Today, if you have SOLIDWORKS with cloud services or 3D Sprint in SOLIDWORKS, and if you don't, you can easily upgrade to that. It's part of the maintenance. And you have all these 14 facilities as I speak. The other one is even more important, is assisting the engineers to make use of the most powerful technology to give life to your digital asset, to virtualize your digital asset, which is simulation. Now, simulation is admittedly an intimidating type of science. And look, what it's doing here is a so-called design of experiments. You see those dots? Those dots represent a configuration of your object, a combination of parameters that can optimize some business goals. For instance, minimize the weight, minimize the cost, maximize the durability, experiment with different materials. It's called design of experiments. By the way, this is the bed for the batteries of a car. And of course, weight is extremely important, but many other considerations like fire resistance and those type of things. The parameter space is defined by the engineer, but the optimal combination of those parameters is not known until you do the simulation. And you have to do iterations to see what is the parameters that you want to optimize. Again, is it the cost? Is it the weight? Or is it the durability? Or the resistance to a collision? Now, AI assistants can provide the most important thing, and by the way, over and over again, I hear this in my trips. What is the impediment of using simulation not as a validation technology, but as a design technology? This is what we want to tell. Simulation must be intrinsic part of the design workflow. What is missing? What is missing is the confidence. Somebody says garbage in, garbage out. And the engineers are very smart and understand that the accuracy of the setup of the simulation study is critical to the success. How you define the boundary condition, how you define the mesh, how do you find the loads? Of course, it's very important. And you believe that most engineers are afraid of making mistakes because then the results are less reliable. Now, AI can greatly improve that, can give the confidence. Why? Because the industry models have millions of analyses done already with results and connection to real life applications. So there are like, physical test results or durability test or field reports on quality of the products and connected to the simulation study. So all of this can be synthesized and applied in a specific design space, saying, okay, listen, in a case like this, similar to this, the boundary conditions were this, material was this, the loads were applied this way, this is the type of mesh that was created, and the field tests and the results on the field validated the entire design experience and simulation experience. And this gives confidence to use these amazing tools. Isn't it a huge booster to the mission of creating a better and more interesting and more innovating IP? Aura is in every seat of SOLIDWORKS that have cloud services. Every new seat since 2023 comes with the cloud services. Aura is the natural language AI assistant that can create the connection between the language model and the industrial model. You can ask Aura to design for you a 4-bar linkage with kinematics all defined. So you can tell in human language, build for me a sketch for a 4-bar linkage, and then the sketch is built for you with all the mates, all the constraints that are necessary to do the kinematic simulation. That is what Aura is doing today, but we have even bigger dreams. So I told you what is available today. I want to show you very quickly what is coming. One of the most interesting things is the ability to go from a picture to a 3D object. Okay, this is not new. If you go around, if you search the internet, there are companies that do that, helped by the machine learning technology. Again, if you have a picture and if you have a database of millions of parts, you can find the similarity and use this type of connection to build a 3D object. Now, creating it watertight, STL, ready for simulation, I don't know if everybody can do that. The next is, however, is even more ambitious, to create the full parameterization of this object. So it's not only faceted, that could be okay for 3D printing or for simulation, but definitely not okay for precise manufacturing or cutting. So you need the precise mathematical definition of the face, of the curves, lofts, whatever, sweeps, or subdivision, all the technologies that we do have. This is the ambition that we have next. But this is the most interesting one. This is the big vision that I think will help most of you. Here is the Aura that is asked, is my plant compliant with the standards? And Aura detects that there is something missing there. There is a protective fence. This is a violation of ISO XYZ. And by the way, Aura is able to propose a solution. Why? Because we have done it many, many times. It is in the database. There is a parametric definition of a fence, so Aura is smart enough to pick it up, put it in place, compliant with the ISO specification in the area that the ISO specification explains where it should be, or ANSI, whatever, and you get the drawing. Not only that, Aura will lead you through the steps to do the change management, to do a change order. That is the vision that we have. We are not there yet, but I promise we will get there. And we, the Dassault SOLIDWORKS, will be the first to get there. This is another example, not there yet, but is coming. Real life example. You have a production plant, your client has a production plant, a jig, a fixture breaks. What do? Go find the spare parts. But if you are on the, of the International Space Station, you don't have a lot of spare parts in storage, right? And maybe your provider, God knows where it is. But you need this part immediately to keep production going. So we have technology you have seen right now that is able to heal fractured objects, inspiration from nature, and it can give you an STL of the original object. So you can 3D print it, so you can do this thing in hours, if not minutes, depending on the material. So this is a technology of tomorrow. This is what we are working on. In addition to fixing all those things that I saw there, I promise, it's not forgotten. As at the end, AI is interesting, but HI, which is human intelligence, is even more interesting. And we do believe that humans are in charge. Don't believe in those utopian and dystopic scenarios where robots and AI will take over. This is good for entertainment, but it's not the reality. Humans in our world are in command, and these are things that humans can do today. This is a new facility, by the way, to help manage very large assemblies, define design spaces, pull in all the components that are necessary to work in a certain context automatically. This is a new technology just introduced by, and there is no AI here, not yet. This is HI. But at the end, you know, AI is very useful, but AI can only answer questions. So what are humans left to do? To formulate the questions. This is the most important things ever. Articulate the problem. Then AI can come in and help tremendously, like 3D technology did in the past, like the ability to draw, help the people in the caves millions of years ago. So at the end, we are very human-centric at Dassault Systèmes. And the last leg of our conversation on strategy is ecosystem. The ecosystem is here to help you at a very short distance, in your language, in your territory, that closely understands your problem. So I think this is a huge value that we bring to you. And the ecosystem is not only part of like a MECAD, are the schools that you know, forms the students that are ready to work or ready for you, are the center of excellence, are even the network of makers, are even the innovators, the startups that one day can be part of your value chain. So all of this is what I believe, what I wanted to share with you today, is our strategy, our powers, the things that are important for us. We believe they are important for you, and together, yes, we are building the future. So last slide, I want to try this. Danke, South Africa. I hope I said it right. Again. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Very well organized, very well attended. Thank you very much for having me here. I will be here back very soon. Thank you.